So welcome everybody. My name is Eric Bobrow, and I'll be talking to you about marketing and sales and how you can message, communicate, and get in rapport with potential clients and win more of the right type of projects that are your goals. So I want to just get a sense of how many of you right now have already been doing some client business development, actually bringing in business to your firm? A couple of you, three of you? Okay. All right. So you're in positions where you're meeting with potential clients and you're spending some time with them and ultimately aiming to get them to say, yeah, we'd like to work with you. Okay. So let me tell you just a little bit about my background here. So I've worked with architects since 1989 as a value-added reseller, so I used to sell CAD programs, particularly ArchiCAD, but I did a variety in the early years, AutoCAD and MicroStation, etc. And I came into it sort of family background. Older brother, Michael Bobrow, FAIA, had a 100-person firm down in LA, did hospitals and university buildings at Stanford and UCLA and across the country. So he was my big brother, 15 years older. He's passed on now. But I always looked up to him. Architecture was pretty cool. And I had another big brother who was a computer researcher, particularly in AI. Yeah, anybody hear of AI these days? Okay, yeah. So he was one of the pioneers back in the 60s, and all the way through, he died in 2017. Well, I found a way to combine computer consulting and architecture together, and that's what I've been doing since 1989. So with the ArchiCAD as a reseller, I developed a training program, started doing online marketing for that, created a YouTube channel, quite well established, 5 million views and 40,000 subscribers. But at a certain point, realized that I could help architects with marketing and business development. And particularly in the Great Recession, many of my clients who I've been working with for years were saying the phone wasn't ringing. What can I do? And I was in that position, well, let me see what I can do. And I started doing some website development, created a course called Internet Marketing for Architects, and then looked around and found a couple other thought leaders in the industry. One of them, Enoch Sears, AIA, and the other, Richard Petrie, who we formed the Architect Marketing Institute back in 2013. Now I'm going to ask you, before we get going too far, or just right at the beginning, what is the number one job of any architecture practitioner or firm? What do you feel is the most important thing that you do? Design. Okay, design. What else? Okay, you have to speak up a little bit. Yeah, okay. So, really, doesn't matter what type of design services you sell. It is, if it's, I went backward here. Whether it's commercial, residential. I just want to see that I'm in pace here. So, okay, yeah, so industrial. So, it really doesn't matter. The number one job is marketing and selling architectural services. Why? Because without this, there's no contract. There's no client and there's no project, right? So the two key things that you need to work on for marketing and selling is visibility and discovery is one part, like how do people find you, connect with you, and you build a relationship with them. And how do you win against competition? Because there are going to be other firms out there that are offering similar things. And you have to differentiate yourself. You have to have a good answer to the question, why should I hire you over that other firm or those 5 firms we're evaluating or whatever the short list is, or even against the option of doing it themselves or with just a contractor. In certain cases, they go to the builder and say, can you do my second-story addition, or can you outfit my restaurant, whatever. Okay, now marketing can be very confusing because there's so many different things you can think about. I want to put it so things at least make sense that whatever you're working on, whatever you think about, will all move in the same direction. And ultimately, the goal of any type of marketing is to put yourself in a position where you stand out, where people go, Oh, you do that? Oh, I'd like to talk to you. You want to be in that position where you aren't just a commodity where all they're trying to compare is the price of your services, right? Now, with my partners in the Architect Marketing Institute, we've developed a 9-step program. We're not going to go into all the 9 steps. We don't have time for that. But I will say that it helps you to win dream projects or better projects, even against bigger, more experienced firms or cheaper competition, because you pick a niche. So who knows what, in this context, what a niche means? Specialty, yeah, okay. Market sector, you do retail, or you do offices, or you do beachfront homes, things like that. But it can be more specific. It can be beachfront homes that are in a specific geographic area, maybe that are hurricane resistant. Okay, that's an interesting sort of thing. Or it could be retail that is for chains, or retails for boutiques, or it could be any type of thing there. Now, when you focus on a particular niche, it becomes a little easier to position yourself as a leading provider, as number one, at least within a certain geographic area, within a certain type of sector. You're not competing with the whole world and everybody who's an architect. You're competing only against those who declare a similar specialty, right? If you identify it very clearly, then people will say, oh, you do that. That's exactly what we need, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to be talking about number 4, 5, and 6. How do you build a relationship with clients over a series of steps of engagement? And I'm going to be talking about some of the issues that are common in the standard architectural practice, where, to put it very simply, a call comes in, you have a chat, you have a meeting, you say, this sounds great, we'd love to work with you, would you like a proposal? You give a proposal, and you hope that you've won them over, right? And that's a very abrupt series of, I've just met you, and, I want to get married to you for the next year or two, right? Okay. Now, one of the concepts that we teach is about having a goal. We call the ultimate goal for, let's say, most architects will be to get to Sunshine Island, where you are working with great clients, fulfilling projects, and healthy fees, right? Okay, I think we all want that. Now, there are terms here. You can see artist quarter might be where you're working on projects that are interesting, fulfilling, maybe even noteworthy, but you're not being valued very well. They're paying you, pennies. There's ones that in the new quarter, we can say if this was a town where you're actually making pretty good money, but it's repetitive work, or it's awful clients. They're just so demanding, or just, don't treat you right. And then, of course, there's the old quarter where you take whatever the heck you can get, right? You don't want to be there. But we all want to be on Sunshine Island. Now, I'm going to start out the meat of the presentation here talking about the 80-20 of marketing. Now, how many of you have heard of the 80-20 principle? Okay, a few of you nodding your heads. Okay, it's often named the Pareto principle, and it's named after this particular Italian economist from the turn of the 20th century. In 1906, he made a famous observation that 80% of the land in Italy, where he was based, was owned by 20% of the people. I thought, wow, that's very unfair. I wonder if Italy is really unique that way. Well, he looked at other European countries at the time and said, they're all sort of like that, okay? He said, well, maybe we're in unjust times. Well, he looked back 100 years, and I don't know exactly how you find the property records, but said it's actually much the same. Some people own a lot more land than the bulk of the people, right? Well, that's as far as he took it, but this 80-20 principle was always present, and it continues to be present in other areas. So Joseph Duran was a researcher in, I think, productivity and automation and tools within manufacturing, and he found that 20% for assembly lines, 20% of the area of the assembly line accounted for 80% of the faults or issues. That's interesting. Okay, so if we can fix that 20%, we're going to make it all go much better, because the other ones only occasionally broke down or only occasionally had issues. So this 80-20 principle is something that's been, applies all throughout our life and world. Not always 80-20. We're going to talk a little bit more about other alternatives, but we do a lot of stuff. I'm learning this, I'm sending emails, I'm doing this drawing, design, and we think that we do all of these activities, we get this result. But if you analyze it out of all the activities, some of them don't make much difference, right? Some of them make a big difference. Like you meet with a prospective client who hires you. That's a big deal. You meet with a prospective referral source, a contractor or a consultant or a thought leader or a financial advisor, and they refer you over the next year or 5 years a bunch of clients. Wow, that's really impactful compared to other things, right? Now, it's true in a lot of different areas. You can even say in terms of clothes, that 80% of your clothes in your closet you don't wear very much. 20% you wear, a lot, right? Same thing with criminals. 20% of the criminals do more of the crime, right? Authors, 20% of the authors sell more of the books than the other 80%, right? Actors, well, with actors it's probably more like 95-5, George Clooney or whatever, sudden the names go out, but the famous actors make millions and the small actors don't make very much, right? Okay, sports people, clearly, some are celebrities and multimillionaires, Steph Curry, etc. Now think about your projects. Projects, some of them are much more profitable, much more fulfilling. Some of them, you get a lot of grief, right? So of your clients, 20% of them may refer, more projects than others, right? Some are just really connected, okay? So the real message is that there are many things in life that you can sort of not ignore, don't say you totally leave them alone, but you don't focus on, right? You want to focus on the vital few things. So today we're going to be talking about what are the vital things to focus on in terms of marketing and sales. And if you improve that 20%, 20% is arbitrary, but if you improve those vital things, you're going to have much better results. And in fact, if we say, like this little diagram shows, that 20% gives you 80%, and you spent more time and energy on that, so you put in 40% of your time on those important things. Well, you wouldn't have 40 and 80, but still, in all, it goes to 60, right? But still in all, you're going to end up with a lot more results. So, just conceptually, that is easy to see. Now, in terms of markets and clients, some of them are going to be the best ones. So you can certainly say, if you've been doing your own work for a while, or just recognizing what your company, your firm does, that there are some really good projects. The ones you love, healthy fees, right? The ones that are pretty good. And then there are ones that are, God, you just got to get through this. And then there are, of course, some that may be disastrous, okay? And you want to, focus, of course, your energy on how you get more of those projects that are the best, right? The ones that, feel like Sunshine Island, this is the life I want to live, all right? You would accept the ones that are pretty good, but you want to avoid the ones that you early on can say, this client isn't going to be good to work with. They have unrealistic budget expectations. They're too controlling. They don't, they want to step in too much. They don't trust me. They're hard to reach. They just delay, can't really get a hold of them. And then, of course, some of them, they're changing their mind, whatever it is. You want to run away from them. Okay. Your profits are going to be related to this as well. The top 20% will make much more money than the other ones. Okay. So we're going to focus on how you get the vital few projects to create your success and improve your results, as these diagrams go. All right. So if a design firm is only as good as the projects you can win, then you need to focus your mind on how you get the right projects and how you then do the design and delivery. Now, marketing is something that, of course, many of you may feel like, I don't know people who've done good marketing. I don't know how it works. I don't like selling, or if you have had your own firm, you put in efforts doing social media or Facebook advertising or this or that, and, hasn't really borne fruit. So it's pretty complicated, all right? So you need something, simple to get over the marketing overwhelm there. So this system, again, I'm not going to be going through all of the 9 steps, but the upper part is about focusing on the right market. So, to the extent that you can pick and choose who you're going to work with, that's helpful. Because then when you get the word out in terms of media, in terms of the way that you go out to market, you can communicate with those people very directly. So you're going to speak about different things to different people. I'll give you a simple example. If you were at a party and someone came up to you and said, our mutual friend said, you're an architect. I'm thinking of X project. Okay, well, what is it? Well, I have a restaurant, and we're thinking of remodeling it, and he said, you do that. Or, we're thinking of putting a second-story addition on our home. Is that something you handle? Okay. Well, you talk to them about, for a second-story addition, where are you? You're in Palo Alto. Okay, zoning, probably you could do that, and, you'd speak about that. You wouldn't just say, oh, well, great, I'm an architect. I solve all kinds of problems. Just let's have a meeting, and I'm sure whatever it is, I can help you. I mean, that's okay, I know I can help you, but it's better if you say, for restaurants, okay, so what's your biggest challenge? Let's talk about that, because I know restaurants, I know how to do that. Okay. So, question, what value do you provide? Now, I asked you what's the most important job, but now let's talk about the value. Okay, so if the job is winning business, if the number 1 job is winning the business, so you can then provide value. What value do you provide? So what do you do for your clients? What is it that you accomplish when you are an architect? And, you can say something very obvious, or you can say something more subtle. I'm all ears. You solve problems, okay. All right. Their problems, yeah, okay. What else? Okay, so you're managing the available funds to get the best result for them. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're getting best for their money.
Right, good value for their money, okay. Anything else? Yeah. What was that? Create beautiful spaces. Beauty. What is it? Beauty, utility, durability, that whole thing. You know it all better than I do. All right, well, how do people perceive your value? 2 pictures. Joshua Bell, violinist, virtuoso, $3 million violin, okay? On the right, you see him in a symphony hall. On the left, you see him in a little experiment. He went busking in the subway in one of those eastern cities. I don't know if it was Philadelphia or Boston or Washington, D.C., as an experiment to see whether people would recognize his talent in that context, right? He had just played in the symphony hall, $100 ticket as the featured violinist. $3 million instrument, playing some of the most difficult Bach partitas and things like that. People walked right by. Some people put $1 in. Some people stopped for a minute, walked on, pulled their kids along. No, we can't wait. So, kid looking, go, wow, that's amazing, right? Did not have a perceived value. So he made $35 in an hour. I mean, it was just an experiment, right? He didn't need that money there. So how do people perceive your value? Well, you put up your portfolio, right? You say, look, these are the projects we've done. Do you want to do a project like that? And there's a classic thing of do great work and people will discover you, find you, want to work with you, right? And that's partially true. If you did crappy work and you had bad reviews or bad comments from people, they would stay away from you. But the problem is that people don't know what you know, right? So you may be brilliant in your particular area, maybe not quite Einstein, but someone really talented, okay? So how do you make an offer to people so that people go, oh, That's really interesting. That would really help. You know, how do you find high-value clients and have a high-value process? These are other things that are related to this. And limited options is an interesting thing I won't get into here, except that if you differentiate yourself enough, you will be able to stand out so that people go, I've never met anybody like you who specializes in eco-friendly, you know, oceanfront living or you know, this and that, whatever it is, that taking doctors' offices and making them so wonderful that people just recommend them. You've got to go to that, you know, whatever it is. Okay, if you're a specialist, you can answer questions and problems in ways that non-specialists are not capable of doing. Now, one type of value, and this is sort of just a diagram, well, a simple thing would be the value of a home or a building after it's built. And let's say that your fee is more than others because you charge more, you know you deserve more. And the value in terms of, you know, appraised value of the asset after construction or remodel is significantly higher. So you might provide certain extra value. Now, how do you document that? Well, you know, there are ways that you can potentially get real estate, you know, agents or appraisers, you know, to look at things. There may be some other ways that you can document that, yeah, ours typically do this compared to the average in the market. But ultimately, by changing the focus of a client from your fees are a bit high, we're interested in working with you. Can you sharpen your pencil on that? Can you compete? This other person quoted 20% less. Could you do it for that? Very interesting. You know, one of the things that, you know, some of our clients talk about is when they're asked or told, hey, your fees are actually a bit high. Well, compared to what? So here's an example of one just the other day. Client-based, architect based in Toronto. He's decided to focus on heritage homes. Okay, so heritage, you know, older buildings that maybe have some historic preservation and regulations, you know, so there maybe are some limits to what you can do to the facade, etc. And he's a specialist in that area. So when potential client said, you know, your fees are a bit high, we've been talking to some other firms, and said, oh, compared to what? Well, compared to this firm and that firm. Are they specialists in heritage? No, I don't, they've never said anything about that. Oh, okay. Well, my fees are higher because I'm a specialist on that, and I will achieve X, Y, and Z for you. Oh. Well, those things are important, what you just mentioned. You know, okay. So that's providing extra value in terms of, you know, integrating old and new or whatever it is, getting the permits faster, avoiding the traps like, oh, you know, if you do try to do this, you're going to be sent back, and you're going to have to wait then another 3 months to get, you know, the permits if you do get it. All right. So fees can be a problem, you know, trying to achieve healthy fees if the value is a mystery, if people don't really see the value, right? So there's going to be a fee gap if you are saying, I'm not going to compete on price. I don't want to be seen as a commodity, like how much for a gallon of gas, you know? It's not like that. We do something boutique. We do something special. We provide a value that those others don't. I mean, maybe somebody here and there does, but most, we're just better, right? Okay. So if you talk about the fee gap and the value gap, price is what you pay, value is what you get. I don't know if it was Warren Buffett, someone like that said that. And you want to be able to deliver so much more value that your fee becomes irrelevant. Like, I don't care what your fee is. I want to work with Frank Gehry. You know, I want to work with, you know, so-and-so. You don't have to be Frank Gehry, but you just have to be in your particular group like the person who stands out, ideally. So do you want the cheapest price? So here's a response you can use sometimes of, oh, okay, so are you looking for the cheapest price here? Or would you like the best value? Well, you know, and of course some people will say, yeah, my budget's really limited. I'm looking for the cheapest price. Well, I'll just recommend that you not work with us because I can send you to some really cheap architects. They're really cheap. You know, you can make the point that probably not going to be as good, right? All right. Now we're going to go into some ways to communicate value, and these are by necessity, so we're half an hour in, so I have an hour and a half, right? Yeah, okay. FAB stands for feature, advantage, benefit, and it's just one way. I'm going to sit down for this. One way that you can communicate what you have or what you do or who you are in a way that impacts the client, where they go, oh, that sounds good. I want that. All right. So, airbags. Well, what are they? They're things in the car that, are now regulated, but for a while it was sort of an optional thing. And what's the advantage? Well, it deploys upon impact. Well, what does it do? It deploys upon impact. What's the benefit? It saves your life, at least sometimes, or your family's lives. Okay, so it became an asset, and then it became an asset in terms of marketing. We have airbags. We have airbags not only in the front, we have it on the sides, for side impact collisions or whatever. And then, things got regulated, and so everybody has that. So it becomes the, table stakes or the ante or whatever you put it. Everybody has to have that, right? Okay. Well, let's look at some things in architecture. You guys use BIM, 3D modeling?
Yes.
I bet you all do, right? Okay. Because it has certain advantages, right? Okay, how much experience does your firm have? 25 years experience. Is that a real benefit to people? Well, just saying we have 25 years experience, it's just a feature, right? Okay. Now, what does BIM do? Now, I was a BIM specialist in terms of ArchiCAD, and I'm familiar with Revit and other tools conceptually. All right, well, some of the advantages of what it does is it coordinates the drawings for you. So, you do something here, you move it, and it changes in the other drawings. It's generally going to be a faster process, and it definitely gives visual feedback because you're building a model and the client can look at it and understand it better than just the drawings, right? All right, so those are some advantages. 25 years experience. Well, you might know all the angles and all the issues for your particular areas of work. You just know how to get things in through the city, you know how to take advantage of the lot setbacks, different things, right? Okay, so you know all the angles and the issues. You're going to avoid when the contractor, so I've seen this so often, the contractor does this, and we avoid that, right? Okay, we avoid those issues. All right. Now, why does it matter? That's the benefit. Okay, so I mentioned saves your life, right? Okay, that matters a lot. Well, in terms of BIM, 3D model, eliminates inconsistencies. Well, why is that important? Because it reduces change orders, which are costly and delay things. It means you can probably, or you may very well, take complex projects and complete them sooner because you don't have some of those issues in the field, right? So that's at least one part of it. Now, if you're 25 years of experience, you might be able to maximize the ROI. You might be able to create a project that has higher value or lower cost. You're able to, just be clever about things. You can eliminate surprises. You're not going to have the contractor do this or the city reject it for that reason, etc. Okay, so those are the benefits there. Now I want to just see, someone pick a feature that your firm puts out there and just says, just anything. What was that? Sustainability. Okay, so sustainability, yay. What does it do? Okay, did you say certification, like LEED certification? Things like, okay, all right. So, I understand, a lot of these things more than some of your clients, less than others, because it's not my specialty. All right, so sustainability, it's a thing. It's a buzzword, okay? It means that you're using different materials, you're probably reducing energy usage, you're conscious of other things. Good. Okay, maybe you can win awards. Okay, that's a benefit, right? All right, LEED certified. Maybe that means you get more tenants if it's an office building because they say, oh, good, I want to be in an office building that's saving the earth, or whatever. All right, so more tenants or sooner rental, higher rental, things like that. Lower energy fees, heating, etc. Okay, So that's how you translate, or you start that. Okay, so this is, I wouldn't say it's trivial, but it's a starting point to say, how do I translate what I care about, what I believe is an asset, into what the client will go, oh, that's good. I want to talk to you. All right? So this is part of that process. Okay. Now, ultimately, what this is you're focusing and selling the problem you solve, not the service you're offered. So in other words, if you say, we do BIM, well, some people will say, BIM, that's great. Now, of course, it's, I wouldn't say passé, but it's, it's pretty common. But some people will say X is great, but others will say, so, okay, so what are you solving? All right. Now, well, that's a good question. I mean, you have to really understand sustainability from the perspective of their values. Okay, so if they value the earth being, in good shape 50 years from now, then maybe that's one reason. If they value energy efficiency and reducing costs, that's another reason. If they want natural materials and, so low VOC and, things like that, then that may be another one. It may be the award, prestige. It may be, being able to tell others, oh yeah, we hired this firm and they do sustainable design. And I don't know what it is, but it's, but if you get them excited about it, if you can motivate them. So I don't have an instant answer for that. And I know there are things we care about because we're experts in our area and we're passionate about the value that we provide. Now, some of it is you have to find the clients who value that too, right? So in other words, if you find the forward-thinking corporations that want that, and that's part of their mission statement, then boy, you're a good match, right? But if you find, I'm going to say one that I have no idea, McDonald's, let's say McDonald's, they just care, I'm just saying stereotype would be, they just care about the profitability of their franchises. They don't care about the earth that way. All right. So I don't really know, but maybe they're not a good client because they don't care about that. I don't know about Walmart or whatever. You think about these ones that are just big behemoths. Do they care about that? Now, some will. Some will say, we are big and we care. And, so then, well, that's pretty good. If you can get in with a large client, provide a lot of services, and it's a match for your passions and your expertise, great. All right, so solve the problem you solve, not the service you offer. Now, by the way, it's not Winston Churchill who said that, but it's just an interesting image. All right, $1 million message. What the heck is that? Okay. Otherwise known, or similar things, are an elevator pitch, or a unique selling proposition, or USP. So what makes you uniquely valuable to these clients? What will make them, if you had that 30 seconds in an elevator to say, oh, we do this for people who need that, and at the end of the elevator thing they say, oh, wait, can I get your card? Because that sounds amazing. We need that. Okay, so what is it that you can say in a relatively short, communication that makes the right people go, oh, let's talk. Okay. All right, so it's a structure, and $1 million message, just a name for saying, hey, you find the right way to communicate what you do. It could be worth a lot. It could be worth, over a period of time, a lot of money. Now, part of $1 million message is to very clearly communicate who it's for. This is for homeowners who are wanting to do this, or this is for, commercial developers who want to do that. It's okay, so that's who it's for. What do they need or want? Well, ideally, in a succinct fashion, it will, communicate something about what you provide that answers a need or a desire or goal for them. How you do it better than others, okay? So if you can, in a short form, way say, because of our unique method, or because of this tool, Revit, or ArchiCAD, or whatever, or because of our founders' great passion and skill at doing X, we are able to solve that problem better. Okay, so there are different ways that you can say why you're better that way. And then often it helps to say without cost overruns, without you having to make all the decisions, without, this problem with the contractor, without it taking 2 years because we've got a system that we know everybody at City Hall and we can get it, through in 10 months, whatever it is. Okay. All right. So I mentioned how you do it better than others. You can sort of conceptually say sometimes you have a method or process, the Bobrow method, the whatever method, right, that you explain if they ask what it does. You first of all say, I have this method, or we've developed this method named on this concept or named on this person, right? And it achieves these goals. It makes a difference, right? Okay. Or it could be the secret weapon, like Batman with his utility belt, and when he's in, a cave, and I'll throw this thing up there, and it does this thing, right? Okay, just like whatever tools you have. You have analysis for, sunlight and energy evaluation, and you say, well, if we turn the building a little bit and we add another shading area here and we do this, then we're able to achieve 20% more than what most will do, because they'll stop at this point and say it fulfills the brief, but it doesn't handle this area. And if you care, all right. And superpowers your skills or your passion. I will, work at it, or our team just cares so much about this, we will achieve such and such. Okay. Now, when you're focusing on a message, it helps to have a niche. So I asked early on, what is a niche? It's a market sector, but it can be even more specific. But it doesn't have to be just residential versus commercial versus hospitality or something like that. Allergy-free homes, aging in place, trained by Zaha Hadid, or, something like that. It could be simple house design. If you want an uncluttered thing, luxury design, we'll make it so that your friends and associates will go, oh my God, that's amazing, right? Okay. So what is it that you specialize in? Once you have chosen that, and you can do more than one, you do hospitals and medical clinics and maybe small office buildings, and no one would say, oh, you do office buildings, how could you do hospitals, Maybe you find some, oh, we do, bathroom remodels, and, compared to this, they'd say, that doesn't make sense. But you can have more than one, but each area that you focus on should have somewhat unique messaging, right? We're talking about how you communicate. Prefab housing or straw bale construction. I mean, these are things that, potentially there are specialists in straw bale construction. It's if you live in New Mexico or you live in certain places, it's a thing, right? Okay, so you pick one or more of these things that you want to be known for, or at least you want to put out to the market and talk about. All right. Sometimes, you say, I don't know what to focus on, so you can analyze the different niches, pick 2 or 3 or 5 of them and look at them in terms of, do they have urgent problems that they care about deeply? Do they have expensive problems? If it isn't handled right, that, it'll make a difference. Do you have some advantage? Or you have some skills or tools that allow you to do that? Is it a good fit for your business? I have a team of 2, or I have a team of 25, or whatever it is, or you're in a certain area. If there's a lack of specialist options, that's an interesting thing. If nobody else does this, but there is a need for it, that's an interesting position to be in, right? Okay. If they have money or access to money, then that's better than, the ones who want to do things and don't, right? Okay. Are they good to deal with? Well, some are going to be good-hearted. They love sustainability, and they're just like, oh, we can do that. Great. And others will be, well, where is this? And give me the ROI analysis and, whatever it is. And are they economically reachable is an interesting thing. How do you get in front of them? Are there online groups? Are there publications? Are there associations that, you can become known in that group there? All right. Now, this slide is a bit of a mess here, but if you look at I am an architect in the middle, and then I specialize in clinics, and we go up there. If you say to someone, I'm an architect, they go, oh, okay. Maybe they need an architect, but you haven't differentiated themselves. Now, if they are, let's say, working on a medical clinic, they're a doctor, they're part of a medical group, they need a new clinic, they need a remodel, whatever, and you say, I specialize in clinics. They go, oh, great, because that's what we're focused on. I get X results for clinics. Well, what does that mean? Generally, when we do a remodel, we focus on circulation and flow. We focus on hospitality, things like how people feel comfortable when they're in the waiting room. We focus on how the doctors have this and have that, and that achieves higher ROI. You know, what do you mean? Well, we can get more patients through, and they actually have a great experience. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay. Or I solve expensive problems for clinics. Okay. Well, I know that with all these regulations, you know, you're often dealing with X, and, you know, you have to, you know, 5 years from now, you're going to have to deal with that, you know, or whatever these things are. What's the problem that you solve? So though that level of communication takes up the level of, oh my, we need to talk to you, you know, or I don't care what you charge. You solve that problem. I know we need to get that solved. And no one else has talked about it, so we need to work with you. All right. And when you have that type of messaging and clarity, you know, it changes the brand, you know, what you stand for. People say, you're known for this. Oh, I came to you because so-and-so recommended you that way. Productivity and staff engagement, staff retention, you know, maybe people you attract, you know, are really passionate about that as well. And, you know, potentially specializing, you can have more speed, profitability, and less risk because, you know, you just know all about that. And you're not doing all these different types of projects. And again, you don't have to do just one, but you should have a limited number, and you should be able to talk about each one in a somewhat differentiated way. So here's an example. So Richard Petrie is my business partner, and he is a first-time property investor developer. He's now done it a few times, but often he lives in New Zealand. And one of the things that, well, just like here, we have, you know, ADUs and you know, whatever it, you increase density, right? Okay. So what is the priority of someone who has a property that could potentially have another unit on it or several units or be torn down and put in a multi-family thing? Okay. What do they care about? Actually, I wanted to do it in the reverse order, but, you know, as an architect, you might say, well, we do great design. It's all sustainable. You know, you work with us, you know, we'll win some awards. The developer may say, that's all well and good. I just want to make sure I don't lose any money on this. I want to make sure that I make money, that it's good, and that, you know, good design, yeah, that's gravy, right? Okay. Different priorities. Not necessarily the case, but you can see sometimes their priorities are not the same as yours. Now, as a worksheet here, I'm going to be sharing these slides, so you'll see it. But very briefly, in the upper left, it says, my high-value client for this exercise. So what type of client or niche? The problem that they have is whatever. The result that you give them is something. Often, you can say without this type of issue, or even if it's their first time around, you know, you can get it for them. How long does it take? How many steps, or how many days, weeks, months, years will it take? What is your superpower, secret weapon, or secret sauce? I mentioned that earlier. Different ways of saying, well, we're really great at this because of this. And something about, you know, before there was this and after it's that. Now, it might be before you build it, it's this, or before you remodel, it's this, and after it's that. Or it could be before you meet with us, you're uncertain about this, and after you meet with us, you've got clarity. Okay, so it doesn't have to be all about the built thing. Now, you can end up with a message that this is sort of a run-on sentence. We help, you know, new property developers who are frustrated, but they don't have a business plan for this, and you can have sort of run these together. Well, we're going to look at a couple of things. So in terms of property investors, so we help property investors with room to add a second dwelling who don't know the best options for the land that will give them a higher ROI, my secret weapon will identify the number one money-making option for them in terms of the property. Without having to get design done, we can actually identify with a massing study, a feasibility study, some other tools, what's the best option. there, even if you've never built before. Okay, so we're talking about just ways of saying, even if you're concerned about this. Okay, now in this case, an ROI roadmap. So this is a little planning document, a consultation exercise done in 30 days. Why can I do this as an architect? I've developed property myself. I've got this tool. It's an ROI spreadsheet that makes it so easy to get that done. And I've got a roadmap. I've got a process here. Before, you're not sure. You're not doing anything. You're not sure of the best options. And afterward, you're very clear that, yeah, if we do that, it'll be roughly in this ballpark cost, and it'll give this type of ROI, etc. So that's an example of $1 million message where you're sort of hitting on all of these things. Now I'm going to show you some ones that are more, fine-tuned, but that's sort of a rough one here. So you fill in these blanks here, and it creates something. Now you're going to get these slides. You're welcome to do that, but you're going to get these slides. Health conscious. So if you're a health conscious building owner with health problems and spaces that are killing people, or just at least making health issues, and you want to get a healing space physically and emotionally, okay, what do we do? In our 9-step process with the walk method. This actually is based on one of our clients who's an architect. His last name is Walker, I think, and he has his walk method, right? Okay, and he's focused on healthy design, right? Working on a user working in a space which is before you had a toxic space, and here are these problems, and afterwards it's a healing space with more energy. Okay, so this is his raw materials for the message. Here's one that's a different type of solution. Mid-century modern. Okay, so you have a classic building built in that time frame, right? Okay, and you want to do a renovation, and you're unable to find the right specialists who are going to keep this intact. And what the heck is it? And when my phone rings, it sort of goes bonkers there. All right. Anyway, we have a team. We have assets in terms of we know the specialists who do that. Okay, so it goes through all of these things. So again, specific niche, specific problems, challenges, concerns, etc. So when you have this, you can use this internally in your own messaging, or you can make a version that you put on your website. You can have one for each niche or one for each feature of what you're doing. And you're going to use it for various offers that you make. I'm going to talk about offers in a little bit. And on your website, of course, articles, perhaps blog posts, interviews. You can talk about these things. So these are all ways that you can communicate.